This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, preschool friends. We're going to start off this circle time by doing the same hello song we did last week. Do you remember how it goes? If you do, sing it along with me. Ready? Here we go. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as low as we can. Hello. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as high as we can. Hello. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello like we're underwater. Hello. That was silly. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello like a frog. Ribbit. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as nice as we can. Hello, preschool friends. I'm so happy to see all of you today. I'm glad you all could come and watch the video back on Facebook here, and I hope you can join me next week in person. We are going to start by looking at the question of the day, and our question of the day is, have you washed your hands today? Have you? I've washed my hands lots of times too. I washed them when I got to work this morning, and I washed them before I ate lunch, and I washed them when I used the restroom. You should be washing your hands all different times of the day. And one of the things we're going to do today is kind of learn a little bit how to wash our hands. And we are going to do that by doing a fun little finger play that I found online. And it is called 5 Nasty Germs. Are you ready? Are you ready to see my hand full of germs? There it is. Oh my goodness. So we are going to start it, and it goes like this. 5 nasty germs were eager to play, but then came the water and washed one away. So 4 nasty germs tried to have some fun until the soap came along. Put some soap on, and one had to run. Then 3 nasty germs tried to make you sick, but along came the scrubbing, and one couldn't stick. When those 2 nasty germs got into a fight, the rinse came along. Gotta get the water. And washed one out of sight. The last nasty germ thought it couldn't be seen, but along came a towel, drying my hands, and the hand was clean. So that's kind of just a fun little finger play that shows you how to wash your hands. So we are going to go through it again. Ready? We start by getting our hands wet. We get them nice and wet with the water. And then what do? Do you remember? It's a very important step. We get some soap. You only need a little bit because it bubbles up. Next, we scrub our hands. And you want to do this for like 20 seconds. And so that way you can get all the germs off your hands. And you can know it's been 20 seconds by singing a song. And it might sound familiar to you. Are you ready? It goes like this. Scrub the whole time. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Christine. Happy birthday to you. And you want to sing it 2 times. Keep scrubbing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miss Christine. Happy birthday to you. And while you're scrubbing, you want to make sure you get between all of your fingers and get your wrist. That's right here. Get the soap all over, and then you get the water going again, and you rinse them off. You want to get all that soap off. And once you have all the soap off, you can get a paper towel and you dry your hands. And when they're all dry, you can use this paper to shut the water off. And then you throw it in the garbage. You use the paper towel to shut the water off because then you won't be getting the germs back on your hand. So it is very important to wash your hands at all different times of the day. Like I said, you want to wash when you come out, when you come in from playing outside, if you're playing with your pets, before you're eating, after you use the bathroom, and any other time that your hands look dirty. So we want to make sure we're washing our hands, and it will stop those germs from making you sick, sick, sick. All right, next we are going to play another game. It's kind of similar to our game that we played last week. I got a little basket here with some toys in it, and this is a seek and find game. That means you look for something special. When I give you the thing you're looking for, you look for it and you find it, and then you put it in its own little group. So this game you can play at home with a family member, and you can use little toys or stuff you find outside or pieces of colored paper or markers or whatever you have laying around. You just collect a bunch of different stuff and then you give a different category. So let's see, when I look in my box, I see some things that could be pets. It's kind of hard to show you in the camera, but can you see anything in my basket that might be a pet? And remember, a pet is like an animal that you keep in your house, maybe like a dog or a cat or a bird. You're right. I see a dog. So then you would just put the dog in a pile, and then you would look again. And there's a cat. So you can put the cat in the pet pile, and then you can change to a different category. So I might say, can you find something that looks like an insect? And an insect is a bug. So I would say this ladybug is an insect, and you could put that in a different pile. So you have a pet pile, you have an insect pile, you could have a bear pile, and maybe a fish pile. And then you just go through and you can sort the rest of the items into the right spot. So there's a bear, you would put it in your bear pile, and an insect would go in your insect pile, and the fish would go in your fish pile. So that's just a fun game to help you follow directions, and it helps you sort different materials. And like I said, you can do it with any of the items that you have around your house. You don't have to have these special little toys. You can do it with whatever you want to. If you have buttons, little toys, things you find outside on a walk, you can do it with whatever you want to. And this is just another skill that helps your brain grow nice and big, and it will help you become a better reader someday, and it will help you be better at math, and it will help you follow directions when you go to kindergarten. And it's all important things that you need to learn to get ready for school. So I would love it if you could come up with some items and you and a family member could play that game. And then you could post in the comments. You can post some pictures, or you can just have your family member write it out for you. And I would love to know the different things you came up with in your box for your seek and find game. So this week we have been talking about emotions and feelings, like being happy and being sad. And remember, being scared. I'm so scared of spiders. But when I get scared of spiders, I find something that makes me happy. Like one of the things that makes me really happy is to snuggle with a nice warm blanket. So when I get scared, I find a way to make me happy. And I hope you've been thinking this week about different ways to make yourself happy if you're feeling sad or scared. And I would love to hear about those. So we are going to read a book today, and it is called Charlie Anderson. And it is written by Barbara Abercrombie. I mean, she's the author. She wrote all of the words. And the illustrator is Mark Graham. That means he drew the pictures we're going to see. Now, this book is about two little girls and they find a cat. I wonder what it's going to be, what's going to happen when they find the cat. Do you think that's going to make them feel happy? I think it would too. I love cats and I would be pretty happy if I found one, especially when I was a little girl. So we're going to read Charlie Anderson and find out what it's about. So you watch for the two little girls in here and you watch to see how they're feeling throughout the book. And then we'll talk about it. Charlie Anderson. There's the cat. Looks like he's sneaking into the house. And said, one cold night, a cat walked out of the woods, up the steps, across the deck, and into the house where Elizabeth and Sarah lived. There's the kitty walking into the house. He just walked right into their house. Would you be surprised if a cat just walked into your house? Do you remember when we made our surprise faces yesterday? We went like this. I would be pretty surprised if a cat just walked into my house. He curled up next to the fireplace to get warm. He watched the 6 o'clock news on TV. He tasted their dinner and he tried out their beds. It looks like he just made himself at home in their house. When I was a little girl, we were letting one of our cats in the house and another cat just ran in. He ran in and he jumped on our couch and he never left. He stayed with us forever. He decided to stay and the girls named him Charlie. Every morning, Charlie disappeared into the woods again. So it sounds like every night Charlie would come to the house and in the morning he would disappear into the woods. Disappear means to just kind of go away. So what do you think he does when he disappears into the woods? You might be right. Let's find out. At night when he came home, Elizabeth brushed him clean, fed him dinner, and made a space for him at the foot of her bed. It looks like she likes taking care of Charlie. I bet that's making her happy. He liked Elizabeth's bed the best. Sometimes she would wake up in the middle of the night and hear him purring in the dark. Purring is the noise that kitties make when they're really, really happy. So if she heard him purring, that means he was happy. Isn't that surprising to hear that pets can be happy too? Do you think they can be sad? I think you're right. I think pets can be happy or sad and probably even scared. So as good pet owners, it's our job to make sure that our pets are happy. There's Sarah. It says Sarah called him baby. And she dressed him up in doll clothes. Oh, silly. She's putting doll clothes on him. When I was a little girl, I had a kitty and we dressed him up in doll clothes too. My mom would see him running outside with dresses on all the time. It was very silly. When it snowed, Elizabeth and Sarah's mother heated Charlie's milk before he left for the woods. So we still don't know what he's doing in the woods at night. He grew fatter and fatter, and every day he purred louder and louder. He was so happy living with Sarah and Elizabeth. There's Sarah and Elizabeth with their mother. And it says, on weekends, the girls stayed with their father and stepmother in the city. They wanted to bring Charlie with them, but their mother said he'd miss the woods. Charlie's a country cat, the mother told them. So it sounds like Sarah and Elizabeth have two homes. They have a home with their mom and they have a home with their dad. So during the week, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they stay with their mom. And on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they go and stay with their dad. So they have two houses and two families. Looks like that's a stormy night. It's dark and it looks like it's raining. They have raincoats on. It says, one stormy night, Charlie didn't come home. Oh no. I wonder what happened to Charlie. I hope he's okay. What do you think? Let's find out. Elizabeth and Sarah stayed out on the deck and called his name, but no Charlie. Where was he? Why wouldn't he come out of the woods? Was he all right? It sounds like Sarah and Elizabeth might be a little scared and probably a little sad. Because if Charlie didn't come home, that's going to make them very upset and maybe a little scared that something happened to him. Let's find out. Look at Elizabeth's face. Her face is telling me that she is not happy. She is not smiling. Her mouth looks a little sad. All night long, Elizabeth listened to the rain beating on the roof and the wind rattling the windows. Was he cold? Was he hurt? Where was Charlie? I hope Charlie's okay. Like Sarah and Elizabeth are walking around. In the morning, Elizabeth and Sarah looked for him. They asked the lady down the road if she'd seen their cat. She said no and offered them cookies, but they were too worried to eat anything, even her chocolate chip cookies. So worried kind of means scared, and they were so worried they couldn't even eat a cookie. That must mean they were really worried. It would be very hard to turn down a cookie. So they must be really scared. They went to the new house on the other side of the woods. Have you seen our cat? They asked. His name is Charlie. He's very fat and has gray striped fur. Do you think they've seen Charlie? Let's find out. There they are talking to their new neighbors. A neighbor is someone who lives right next door to you. We have a cat with gray striped fur, said the man, but his name's not Charlie. It's Anderson. He's upstairs asleep on our bed. Look at that kitty. Does he look familiar? Does he look like a kitty we've seen before? I think you're right. It looks like Charlie. They heard a meow, and down the stairs came a very fat cat with gray striped fur. Charlie, Sarah and Elizabeth cried. No, that's Anderson, said the woman. We've had him for 7 years. Right, Anderson? He looked at her and began to purr. So he's happy. Happy with Sarah and Elizabeth, and he's happy with this family. There's Sarah and Elizabeth looking at Charlie. But it's Charlie, Sarah said. He looked at her and purred louder. Is he ever here at night? Elizabeth asked. Anderson is a hunter, said the man. He prowls the woods at night. The prowls means he like walks around the woods. He likes to hunt. He's just moving around the woods at night. So that's what the man and woman thinks he does at night, is just hunt in the woods. And you know what Sarah says and Elizabeth says? They say, Charlie sleeps in my bed at night, Elizabeth said. He leaves for the woods after breakfast. Anderson comes home at breakfast time, said the woman. He leaves right after dinner. They all looked at the cat. He sat at their feet very happy and very fat. They call him Charlie Anderson now. So that sneaky cat was leaving his one family and going to see Sarah and Elizabeth and eating food and sleeping with them all night. And in the morning, he would leave and go to his other family's house and eat food and sleep there. So they decided to share him and name him Charlie Anderson. So Sarah and Elizabeth named him Charlie, and the other family named him Anderson. They put the names together, and he became Charlie Anderson. Sometimes in bed at night, Elizabeth asked him, "Who do you love best, Charlie Anderson?" And she can hear him purring in the dark. There's the last page. Just like Elizabeth and Sarah, Charlie has two houses, two beds, and two families who love him. He's a lucky cat. And there's some pictures of Sarah and Elizabeth with their mom and Sarah and Elizabeth with their dad. And there's Charlie Anderson. The end. So remember how we talked about how Sarah and Elizabeth live in two different houses? They live with their mom sometimes and they live with their dad sometimes. Well, Charlie Anderson is the same way. He lives with Sarah and Elizabeth at nighttime, and he lives with his other family during the daytime. He is one lucky cat to have two families that love him so much and make him so happy. And I'm glad that Sarah and Elizabeth were happy again after being so sad and scared. So that is all we have for today, my preschool friends. So we are going to do our goodbye song, and then I will hopefully see you next week. Here we go. Goodbye, goodbye. It's time to go. Goodbye, goodbye. It's time to go. See you later, alligator. Bye, 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 butterfly. Bye, bye, preschool friends. See you next week.